Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Influence Economy podcast. I'm your host, Shayna Davis. I'm so glad that you're here today. But before we get started, I need you to do me a favor. So, wherever it is that you are listening to this episode, I want you to take a screenshot. And with that screenshot, I want you to post it on LinkedIn. Tag me. I'm Shayna Rattler Davis over here on LinkedIn. And then I just want to hear your biggest aha moment or your biggest takeaway from this episode. And the reason why I do that is not for downloads, not for any vanity metrics that honestly I don't even look at very often. But the reason why I ask you to do that is because far too many leaders, they don't necessarily know how to cultivate and build the external influence that the new world demands. And the more times that these episodes are shared, it will expose them to the signals that they need to develop in order to lead better. So I appreciate you in advance for being willing to do that. I'm going to read my guest's bio and we are going to get into what I know is going to be a great conversation, not just because I trust her area of expertise, but because she interviewed me for her show a couple of weeks ago. And I know that she is brilliant and she's got some nuggets for y'all. So here we go. My guest today is an executive communication strategist who helps high performing leaders sharpen their executive presence and step into senior roles with confidence. She's the creator of Executive Presence Mastery, a bespoke program designed to prepare ambitious professionals for the executive suite. She's also host of Speak Up, Develop Your Executive Presence podcast, which I have been on.
Yes.
Go listen to the episode. Ranked number 2 in the world for communication skills and in the top 1.5% overall. Drawing on research from luxury brands, neuroscience, and political campaigns, she takes an unconventional approach. She teaches the smartest people in the world, or I'm sorry, she teaches the smartest people in the room how to connect, engage, and inspire, not just to hit the business goals, but to shape culture in the process. I'm excited to welcome to the show Laura Camacho.
Oh, Shayna, I'm so thrilled to be on the Influence Economy podcast. When I saw the name of this podcast and your approach, I was like fangirling, drooling, like so excited because you have such a cool approach to a goal that we all want to be more, have more impact
Yeah.
and, make the world a better place. But you've got that insight on that not many people know about how to do it. So I'm
Yeah.
excited to be here.
Well, thank you for saying that, and I'm glad you're here. We were talking before we press record is that the whole reason why this podcast exists is because we live in a different world, and the way
Yes.
technology is changing, and the way everything around us is changing, and the way trust gaps are widening. Leadership as usual is not going to be the companies that win in what we're experiencing now and in the next decade. I believe that perception and trust and authority and credibility and all of the things that leaders and companies are actually being judged by is taking place in the outside world. It's taking place outside of the organization. And there is actually a statistic by KRC, which is a research consultancy, and they talk about the difference between companies who have leaders who are visible and credible versus invisible or visible and not credible. And the research is astounding. And I won't go into that right now, but I want us to talk all about visibility on this show and the visibility that leaders need to have to have, quite frankly, outside of their organization. You and I were just talking about there's no shortage of information out there that teaches
No.
you how to show up well in the room and how to lead well inside of your organization. But the moment someone on a leadership team has to engage outside of the organization, has to have visibility as a representative of that company outside of the organization, oftentimes there's a competency gap. And I really want
Yes.
you and I to dive into how visibility actually even fits into a corporate setting, because I think sometimes people can think that visibility is only for influencers or visibility is only for entrepreneurs that are trying to have a presence on social media, et cetera, et cetera. So, where I want to start the conversation is what is the biggest misconception people have about visibility in corporate settings?
Wow, that's such a great question. And I'm going to start by saying that there's a misperception that is even below the level of that question is that they don't there's a lot of extremely bright highly effective as far as getting results done cohort of leaders who don't even think that visibility should be an issue like there. And I will used to be one of them, so I understand, I feel the pain. And but visibility is almost like a KPI that's not on your performance review.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think there's the misperception that it's even necessary or good, or it feels artificial or fake to
Yeah.
some people, just like going around tooting your own horn, rah, rah, rah. And it's really not that at all. It is spreading the message of why what you do matters and why what your company does matters. And and I just want to piggyback on one thing that you said also, that you were talking about when leaders get cast into these roles where they have to be like the ambassador for the company in the external, say a podcast or a speaking
Hmm.
engagement or a
Hmm.
television interview. But actually, in addition to that, if you're haven't been tapped into that, but you're like, I want more visibility, you can actually start that process before you're tapped into it. And I think that's
Yeah.
another misperception, that you don't have to wait until you're anointed. You can start today.
Yeah. And when people hear folks like yourself and myself talk, and they know that we're leadership strategists and we're communication strategists, I just want to put it out there early on that we're not only talking about social media and media interviews and
Mm-mm.
panels that you might be speaking on. You might be the head of HR that is talking to potential employees, and that is visibility. You
Yes.
might be the chief technology officer that is having to have a conversation with an investor or a potential customer about how the technology that you're building is going to revolutionize the industry. That's visibility. And so, I don't want people to think that they need to tune out because they're like, oh, I'll probably never be in the media. And if there's a call for the media, I'm going to pass that on to like the marketing people or the comms
Right.
people. Anytime you have to have any level of engagement, whether it's digital or actually verbal and in person or online, with a potential hire, with an investor, with a potential customer, anytime that you are representing your company in a public arena, that is visibility. We're not talking
Correct.
about visibility for visibility's sake just to drive up numbers, but it is actually driving whether or not someone wants to come work for you. It is actually
Right.
driving whether or not someone wants to give you money. It's actually driving whether or not somebody wants to buy from you, especially when 6 months from now, somebody else is going to come out with another bright, shiny object.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
have you had the level of credible visibility that is going to make people say, no, I want to continue to stay with them, even though
Right.
another product or service has come up
Right.
that's grabbing my
Right.
attention?
Right. I want to share. It's so funny that you mentioned that, because just yesterday I was having a conversation with a client who is a one of the few senior leaders of Palo Alto Networks, which is a very large cybersecurity company, and she
Yeah,
had a she. It was not my idea. Unfortunately, I cannot take credit for it, but she launched last year a golf tournament for women in technology.
I love
And
it.
that turned into, it's not social media,
Mhm.
and that brought women CIOs and other women senior leaders in technology together to a golf tournament. And it ended up, she said they closed a deal for like $90 million as a result of that. And that was totally, she was feeling left out of the men's golf game, and so she just went out and created an event, again to your point, not social media, and she just crushed it. And now it's going to be an annual event, and then she's going to have the marketing people get the marketing, and probably now she will be in the media talking about it, but only because she organized this event last year. I thought that was just, that's an example of how you can be creative. You can go with something that interests you personally. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to wait for permission, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be even an
Performative.
interview. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It doesn't have to be, so you mentioned fake. It doesn't have to be performative or fake.
Right, right,
But
right.
visibility is a requirement of the job nowadays.
Yes,
Even if
100%.
you are not traditionally in a forward-facing role,
Yeah,
there are
exactly.
so many times that it's a requirement of the role for you to have forms of visibility externally, even if you're just commenting on someone's post, you have
Correct.
visibility. People are watching, and judgment and perception
Yes.
and
Yes.
reputation is being formed whether you want it or not. So, what Laura
Exactly.
and I are saying to you is that you're going to be visible in one way or another, core
Yes.
leader. So
Yes.
let's make sure you're credible. And so stick
Right.
around because we're going to keep talking about credible. So, Laura, when you work with leaders
Mhm.
who want more visibility, what do they normally think their problem is versus the problem that you're actually seeing instead?
They think that the problem is that they're not flaming extroverts,
Mhm.
that they're not people who seek the spotlight, that they are just, they've been extremely successful in their careers by hunkering down, getting the work done, excellence in their results and deliverables, and they fear that they don't have the personality. I
Yeah,
would say that is the number one belief that I have to crush in the
yeah,
first few minutes of our meeting, and it's really changing the story of what visibility is. Like we've been saying, it's not like a dog and pony show. It may feel like that, but you are just on, as you said, just commenting on a post. Somebody's gonna that maybe doesn't even know you is like, oh, that's an interesting point of view. Let me go see what company this person works with. Or even if they don't, it's still, perception. We are talking about perceptions from the beginning. There's so many little teeny signals that we get from social media, from looking at what comments, what articles. I just read an article today written by a former guest of my show who's in the luxury industry. His name is Carlo Pignataro. He's a luxury consultant, and his article was about the where AI meets luxury, and it
mm,
and he was connecting that to, I think it was a movie or a book called The Monk Who Sells Ferraris. Anyway, it was so thought provoking that I'm like, I want to share this with my people because this article is so interesting, right? And I'm not in the luxury business.
yeah,
I just,
yeah.
the title caught my name. It just shows how he's going to get visibility from that article because his thinking was so original. And, I'm not telling everybody, well, just write a, life changing article on LinkedIn and you'll be fine.
Right.
You might eventually do that, but start with a thoughtful comment if you want
You
to.
you mentioned something, Laura, that is the problem that I see oftentimes, and you mentioned a point of view. And
Hmm.
one of the problems that I see with visibility, and it's the cornerstone of the work that I do with leaders inside of organizations, is that when we have visibility or when we're being visible on behalf of the company, we get too pigeonholed into talking points about the
Yes.
company and about what the company is building. And we've given very little, if any, thought to what our point of view is. And
Yes.
I'm not saying that you're forming an opinion that is, counterproductive to the organization that you're working for, that is going to go rogue or is going to, cause some
Hmm.
kind of PR nightmare. But as the leader, have you thought about what your unique point of view is for either the
Oh,
industry that you're in or the product or service that you all sell? Are you able to, beyond the talking points that marketing and communications has provided you, are you able to say things like, here's what I see is happening in our industry. And if we miss this, or if we do that, or we don't do that, it's going to end up in this or that. Like you
yeah.
have to think about what is the narrative that you want to
Egg.
create about yourself as a leader in this space. Because if not, and I stole this from somebody a couple of weeks ago, they told me I could have it. You become a corporate branded parrot.
I love
Because the only thing you can
it.
do is just talk about
Yeah.
the stuff that, quite frankly, we can probably find on your website. And so
Yes.
when leaders are thinking about being visible, I think it's important that they have to recognize that they need to give some thought to their
Hmm.
leadership
Hmm.
identity, what
Exactly.
their unique point of view is, what narrative they want out there about themselves, because that's when trust goes up.
Right, right.
That's
Because you,
when
yes,
credibility goes up.
right,
And if
right.
you care anything about your career outside of the organization, that's also what helps you to become an authority in the industry that you're in, because you're not only just talking about the company. I can't tell you how many times I've listened to someone on a panel, and it's like after the question is asked and they've given the bullet points that they've
Yeah,
memorized, they literally have nothing else to say. And it's like,
right,
that's one of the problems right now, is that
right.
everybody sounds like robots. All the copy sounds like robots. I need
Oh,
you to
I
show up and
know.
sound like a human being that actually has a thought.
Exactly. And an informed opinion. Like, but maybe
Yes.
nobody cares what your favorite flavor of ice cream is, but you have been working in your business. If you're listening to this podcast, you've been working for a number of years. I would say at least 10. And you do have opinions. And you may think, no, Laura, I don't. I just do my job. And I'm like, what is it that you go home and you tell your spouse, they keep doing this thing that's driving me
Yeah.
crazy. And if they would only get rid of this thing, that
Yep.
our results would be better. Like that's where the gold is. And I think what Shayna is describing may sound daunting to someone who's never, like an engineer who's never been like into the communication side of a business. Think, well, I don't know. I'm just here to solve the problems. And like, no, there is more. What are the recurring themes that just
Yeah.
drive you crazy? That's where the gold is. But you
Yeah.
have to, it does take some effort and some thinking, and it helps to have an outside party to help you formulate those thoughts. Those what you think are your industry complaints might
Yeah.
actually be interesting points of view
Yeah.
that you could share. And yes, those authentic informed opinions, that's the gold, that's the titanium diamond studded
Yeah.
visibility that people want to follow a real person. And I would say it's not only that we have lots of data, that we're all drowning in all kinds of data, so we want something that feels real, and that's got to be you. And so you don't have to be, we don't want you to sound like Chat GPT. No, we want
Yes.
you to sound like you, with what your viewpoints are and maybe how you came by them, and why they're impacting maybe not even just your company but the whole industry.
Absolutely. Those pain points and those aha moments, your
Yes.
unique point of view is usually buried inside of one of those. So we talked about the fear of coming across as like fake or
Yes.
inauthentic to themselves, especially for that person that you said in the beginning. One of the misconceptions that they have is that they have to be this overtly extravagantly extroverted,
Right.
personality,
Right.
whatever. And they're like, well, if I now have to start be thinking about these things, it's just going to be fake. So I'm just curious. You talk about outwitting corporate culture. And I'm just curious, like, what does it look like to outwit corporate culture
Mhm.
without becoming performative or fake?
No, you have to take all the, well, because corporations by nature are putting you into a category and a box, not out of being mean or inhuman. It's just how you get better results. It's a shortcut way of talking about results and getting results. So the corporate model is putting you into a box. And what I'm saying is, get out of your box, get out of your lane. You don't wait until someone asks you for your informed opinion, and exactly what you're saying, Shayna. Get out into the industry, and you know what, it could even be a presentation to a local Rotary Club, Kiwanis Club, your church group. Like, get out of your cubicle, of your office, and go out and tell people what you see happening. Especially, I would say right now with AI, like, everybody's confused and scared and wondering, what's going to happen. That's a great time for, especially those of you working in technology or using it. Like, what's going on? What are you seeing as a person in this? So when I say outwit, I mean for you to not just wait until you're tapped to
Yeah.
speak. Don't wait until they ask your opinion. Start recommending things, start recommending ideas, and just, it involves risk. And that's why a lot of people that come to us, I mean, they, first of all, they may not even know that they should be doing this, but it can feel scary, right? If you're, like a special, like you're a finance expert in derivatives, and then we want, well, what's going on with the finance industry? Like, how is that affecting other people? It's like, I don't know. But you do know, you just haven't thought about it. So, um, that,
Well,
that's what I
you
think.
talked about risk and like, is it uncomfortable for some
Yeah.
people if this is not, what the way that you're naturally inclined to operate? But let's talk about the real risk of being either invisible
Yes,
or the risk of being forced into visibility and you're not coming across as credible, because that's the bigger risk.
it is.
So when we look at the fact that every company is in a talent war, you're
Yes.
actually risking people not wanting to come work for your organization if you're not visible and credible. When we look at the trust gaps, you're
Hmm.
actually causing trust to erode even more if you're
Right.
not visible and credible when when you are visible. And when we're even thinking about what happens inside of the organization, oftentimes if the only thing that you can do is be seen as the doer and not the strategist and not the thinker, you're not the one that's getting picked, paid, and promoted.
Nope, nope, you are not. You're the pack mule, and they love you. Like they don't think that you probably won't lose your job ever, but it's like, oh, Will the pack mule? Yeah, he can handle that. Just give it to him. He's happy to do it. He loves
That's right.
taking on these things, and yeah, and so it goes year after year, and you're thinking, oh, but I took on all these things. Why was I not promoted? Well, you didn't have any. Nobody knows who you are,
Yep.
and not every boss will even have the honesty or perhaps the foresight to even tell you what that problem is. Very few times have I seen a boss, I'm hearing about it from my clients. It's like very few times has their boss sat them down and said, look, nobody knows who you are.
Yeah.
And that's an issue at this point because it's not
Right.
an issue early career. It doesn't matter. And it's good that you do your work. But
And even if they know who you are because they see your face and they know your name and they talk to you in meetings, if you're only showing up as Will the Pack Mule and you're not being seen as the strategist, you're not being seen as the thinker, then you end up becoming the wind beneath somebody else's
yeah,
wings who's oftentimes not near as brilliant as you are.
correct.
And so it's like, oh, we know you, but we don't really know you for what you're fully capable of. And so you
Exactly.
may have visibility where they recognize your name and your face, but you
True.
don't necessarily have the credibility and authority that you deserve because you're not sharing your unique point of view. You're not, and it's not about
Exactly.
being the loudest, it's
No,
about sending the right signals.
exactly. And to this exact point, so many leaders, I would say at the director, senior director level, they are making their vice president boss like look amazing
Amazing.
day after day, and they're like, well, when do I get to be a vice president? It's like,
Yeah.
why would your boss promote you when you're so useful to them, making them look amazing on a daily basis? And yeah, they exactly, so they know who you are, and they think it's great that you're so generously helping them look good. And that is part of your job. It's
Yeah.
something you have to navigate. It's not easy being a senior leader. The shape of the org is a pyramid, and the higher you go up, the more competition. There's more at risk, and the people who are above you have more to lose. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, is it stacked against you? Kind of, but outwitting the traditional norms and getting that visibility on your own or with help, your perceived value escalates. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, it doesn't even almost it doesn't matter where you speak early on. Like it's not just the fact that hey, I gave this presentation on X and they really liked it. Oh, wow, like somebody actually came to hear you talk? Oh, whoa. What did you say?
Right.
It's amazing the instant change in perception of a person.
Absolutely. So, since the visibility game has changed so much in the
Yes.
last 5 years, when you're
Yes.
looking at LinkedIn, when you're looking at media, when you're looking at all of the external scrutiny that we have been talking about here for the last 15 or 20 minutes, if there's a leader that is heading into more visibility this
Mm-hmm.
year, they're
Mm-hmm.
either already seeing it or they know it's coming. What is the first move that they should make? What is the first shift that they can start making right now, whether they're already into more visibility or they
Mm-hmm.
know more visibility is coming? What would you say? What's your tip for like that first shift that they should make?
I think the first shift is really to think about who needs to hear this? How are you going to help people by sharing this insight? Because everybody's overwhelmed, everybody's exhausted, everybody thinks they know it all,
Yeah.
or so but things that will help other people. And maybe, maybe your help to a group of CFOs is different than it would be to some kind of group within your company. But really shifting your focus, like, how can I be helpful to this group of people who don't know what I know? How can I serve them? What would be helpful? And then how can I make it interesting? I
Yeah.
mean that, and then a lot of that being interesting is being your authentic self and not sounding like Chat GPT produced these talking points. It's just so we're getting like we're just over that.
That's the exact word of caution that I was going to give because I do 100% agree that that's the first move that they should make. But the word of caution that I want to give you is
Hmm.
that if the answer does not immediately come, I want you to go to your peers
Hmm.
to have them help pull it out of you. This is
Yeah.
not something that you should be
No.
using AI to come up with. Now,
Correct. That's
once
good.
you've come up with it, if you
Yeah.
want to use AI to amplify it, to
Hmm.
improve it,
Polish,
whatever,
organize it. Yeah.
then absolutely do that. But this is not something that you go to AI and ask them to help you create. You give AI your thoughts and have it improve those. And if you're sitting here like, I don't have any idea what that would be, then ask the members of your team. Ask
Yes.
ask your peers what it is that they notice about you. Are there
Yes.
certain things that seem to be a rubbing point for you? Are there certain ahas? Or there's certain things that they know that you get fired up about or that you really care about or are passionate about? Because that is the foundation of your leadership identity and what it is that you need to be signaling when you are visible. That's what's going to help you to be more credible.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's going to come out of the things that you're always harping on, and you may not even be aware. Because I know, I'm sure it's happened to you, Shayna, that someone says, "Oh yeah, you said this thing," and I was like, "Wow, that was really good." I don't remember saying that, but people, what others remember from all that you say, that is so helpful. Coming up with visibility strategies by yourself is it's hard, especially if that's not your day-to-day work, which
Mhm.
probably if you're listening to this, it's not. So,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
it's not rocket science either, but definitely talking to people who know the ropes and like to use, like you're saying, like today is it's a different world out there. Very, very different. And it's both opportunity and something to watch out for. I think it's a very exciting time for people to be in business. It's a interesting times that we live in, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Laura, you are a wealth of knowledge. So if people want to follow you on social media, where do you recommend they go?
I recommend you come to LinkedIn. Um, Laura Camacho, that there actually are like 27 Laura Camachos. So you can put in the PhD, that will narrow it down. Or my middle name is Mixon, M as in Mary, IXON. So
Awesome.
I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. Please find me and let's make that connection.
Okay. And if people want to take things further with you, what would you like to offer?
I have a free executive presence scorecard that will help you know where your executive presence is really strong and where you need to work, where your opportunities. And to get a free copy of that, if you would email me at hello at speakupwithlaura.com. Hello, speakupwithlaura.com. Just put the word score in the subject line, and I'll be happy to send you that free assessment.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to make sure that all of that is in the show notes. So all I have to do is click it. Laura, thank you so much for being here. What I want to leave everyone with is that in the world that we're in right now, the companies that are going to win are going to be the ones who have visible, credible leaders because that's going to give you a competitive advantage over
Correct.
all of the headwinds that you are facing. So I encourage you to contact us so that we can help you with this. I encourage you to share this with every leader that you know. And I hope that you will go back and listen to previous and future episodes as well. Everyone, have a great day. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you so much, Shayna.